everyone. Welcome back to Womansplain. Today, I'm so excited to introduce Samantha Diamond. She's the CEO and co-founder of Bird&Be, an innovative modern fertility company that provides supplements and at-home tests for both male and female fertility and improving access to your whole reproductive health. I'm so excited to have her on. I'm going to pass it over to her to do a little intro, and then we're going to dive into her story.
Thank you for having me.
Gosh, we're so excited to have you.
I'm Sam. I am a mom of 3.
Oh my gosh.
And I am so happy to be on this mission that is really going to help improve access to care through education and stellar products for everybody along their fertility journey. So thank you for having me, and thank you for spreading the news about how we can all be a little bit more proactive about our reproductive health.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, this is a perfect podcast. Obviously, we have a lot of female founders. We are really excited to have you on to kind of, cover our health season. But I guess kind of going back into the very beginning, where did you start out your career? Did you always work in health and wellness?
No, I worked in beauty, actually, from the very beginning. So my first real job was actually in the PR department at MAC Cosmetics.
Oh my gosh.
Wow,
So
I love
worked,
MAC.
I know.
I feel like it was so hot then too. It was
so hot.
the hottest.
A fun job.
Yeah.
When I look back at the early days, and this was right after Lauder took over MAC, so there was still a lot of the original MAC creativity and spark from the original founders there. It was a wild place to work. I could tell you stories, but I had a really good few years there, and then I ended up leaving and starting my own PR and marketing agency, specifically in beauty.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So you always kind of had an entrepreneurial itch. Did you always think you were going to start your own company, start your own business?
I think I always just wanted to make my own schedule.
Yeah.
And from the early days, I remember being at MAC and knowing that I had an hour for my lunch, and I used to go and exercise on my lunch break. And I remember feeling like I don't want someone to tell me when I can and can't go to the gym. And so I guess it was destined to be that I would just always make my own schedule.
Yeah.
Love that. No, I totally get it. And then you had your own out of marketing, I guess, PR agency.
Yeah.
Was that specifically in beauty, or did they have other clients? Tell us about building that and sort of how you transitioned out.
Yeah, it was mostly beauty. I would say like 90% beauty. I worked with Maybelline and Essie and Garnier and The Body Shop and Lancome, like you name it, we worked with them. It was also a really wild and crazy journey. And then we also had some health and wellness and fashion clients. We worked with Club Monaco and Lolé and Lululemon. We did some incredible events over the course of the 10 years that I ran that agency, but primarily we were translating beauty and beauty trends for the consumer.
That's amazing. And were a lot of it, I know you're Canadian, have you always been based in Canada?
Yes.
Was it like you were doing the PR in Canada for, a lot of these are American and European brands?
Yes.
Okay.
So we were the Canadian PR for the Canadian media market. And I started in a time where media was a lot different than it is today. Editors were like the be all and end all would be to have, Elle magazine at your event. And now today, although obviously it's still incredibly important to have Elle magazine at your event, the media landscape has totally changed.
Of course. And you had a lot less control of the media, right? It was like basically in order to be placed into another media outlet, you had no control over it. It was really their decision. So like you were so key in placing that instead of kind of like a lot more democratization, which is really exciting. So you worked there for how long or owned them?
10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, 10 years. We ran the agency. I had a partner, and we ran it for 10 years, and I sold it in order to start Bird&Be.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I mean, tell us about that moment. Like, how did Bird&Be come about, the idea?
I think it was a long-term crystallization of me really wanting to provide an experience for people better than the experience I had had. So I was diagnosed by my boyfriend at the time, now my husband, with PCOS in my mid-20s, which is uncommon. Normally, that is a diagnosis that comes a lot later in life, but because I was literally living with an OBGYN resident, he's like, oh, you have PCOS. So I had this early understanding to a degree of reproductive health issues, although I didn't fully understand what that meant and what I needed to do from a lifestyle perspective to manage it. But I knew I had this issue, and I knew I would need to start trying for a family early. And so we did when I was still quite young. I was in my late 20s when we started our family. We went through the process, and things got tougher and tougher and tougher for me as I continued to have children. And I ended up miscarrying between my second and my third. So that was a really tough experience, and it ended up being a very long journey after that to my daughter. And I ended up in both a fertility clinic and a naturopathic fertility clinic, kind of simultaneously working through both the medication and the lifestyle elements that nobody had ever mentioned to me earlier than that. And it was through that process of learning about all these things and being very confused and navigating basically a new language that I kind of was understanding. Like at work, I'm translating this, scientific language of the beauty industry to the consumer, and I'm making things really easy for them to understand. Could we not do this for reproductive health? And what if everybody could arrive at the doctor really knowing more, having already done all of these lifestyle things to prepare for the best possible experience in the clinic if that's where they needed to be? And so it was this long-term kind of cementing of an idea around how can we do this for the consumer?
And it seems like you had a really long journey. And in the beginning, how did you kind of understand or get information of what to do? Of course, your partner was, a doctor at the time, so of course you had an advantage. But
yes.
How did you even know where to start?
Well, I did have this unfair advantage, and my goal is to arm everybody with that unfair advantage, really. If everyone could have a doctor living with them at home, how much further would we be? So that was one piece of it, and of course, he was the one who could make sure I could get the best possible care. But there was still a layer of things that he kept saying, I don't practice naturopathic medicine. I don't understand all of the supplements that are related to this space. That is an entirely different specialty, and you need to see a doctor that is specifically trained in this area. And so I learned a lot from the doctors who actually now work with me at Bird&Be, who were treating me at the time. I learned so much from them. And of course, I was spiraling in the bottom of the internet still. What more can I do? What more can I do? And I would go to them and say, I heard about this, I heard about this, I heard about this. And they'd be able to read the study and say, that's not a test that was done in a rat, 30 years ago does not apply to your situation. So they saved me from some of the spiraling. And again, we're on a mission to help people avoid that spiral altogether by providing them with all of the information they need in one place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I know PCOS goes undiagnosed a lot for many, many women. I think it's honestly probably one of the diseases areas that's probably had a lot of maybe attention for the past couple of years, but there has been a lot of development. If I know obviously your then boyfriend, now husband, diagnosed you, but how does Bird&Be sort of help with that early detection, especially for women who may have an irregular period or other symptoms, or maybe don't have access to fertility care and even pre sort of pregnancy care or don't feel ready to have kids?
Well, you're right. Most people do go undiagnosed.
Yeah.
So about 70% of people with PCOS are undiagnosed.
Oh,
that's so high.
Oh my God.
That's
it's
an
really
insane,
high.
Yeah.
Insane statistic.
Yeah. So there's about, call it 15%-ish of the population has it.
Wow.
But then this huge amount of women are struggling and don't even know that they have it because we don't know. We don't have the education at all to understand how to test, how to diagnose. And so one of the key things that we talk a lot about is cycle tracking.
Okay.
So you can use simple ovulation test strips. We sell them. You can get them online. It's super easy and inexpensive to use to track your cycle.
Okay.
And this is different than an app. So an app is going to use data from when you say you get your period to assume that you have ovulated and gone through all of these steps. But what you actually need to add, apps are amazing for remembering things, but what you need to add are the biometrics. You need to take a strip and dip it in your urine and look at the hormone level rising. And so if you are seeing every month that that test is going positive, you know pretty much that you're about to ovulate. So it doesn't tell you that you have ovulated, it tells you you're about to ovulate. And for the most part, if it's telling you you're about to ovulate and then somewhere between 10 days to 2 weeks later, you're getting a period, you can assume you've ovulated. And that's great. If you are not, if your cycle is not regular, if you are not getting that peak on your ovulation test strip every month, that's your flag. That's when you go and see your doctor. If you're noticing symptoms like cystic acne, if you're noticing symptoms like hair loss from the front of your head, like male pattern hair loss, or hair growth in areas where you would prefer it probably not to grow, like your chin, your face, that is a sign. If you are struggling sometimes with some of those symptoms and weight, that is another sign. You're going to your doctor for blood work and an ultrasound, and you're going to hopefully be able to get this diagnosis earlier so then you can deal with care and how to maintain kind of equilibrium.
Yeah. And how does this work with birth control? Because I was on birth control for 12 years. You know, I went off last year. I think very normal. Women are on birth control for a huge part of their, honestly, like, fertile life.
Yeah.
How does that work with sort of being able to tell if you have something going on with you? Because I feel like birth control masks a lot of things.
It does. So birth control masks your PCOS symptoms because it calms down all your hormones. Yeah. That's how I found out I had PCOS. I went off birth control, broke out in acne.
Yeah.
My face, my back, everywhere, started losing hair from the front of my head and didn't get my period.
Yeah.
And so that's how I found out. And that is a lot of the time why a diagnosis takes so long for people, because they stay on birth control for pregnancy prevention. Mm-hmm. They come off of birth control and try to get pregnant and then begin to struggle. But it's a very delayed kind of diagnosis.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then going off birth control is also crazy. Like, I went off birth control and it's like there are also like symptoms that may indicate PCOS but not necessarily do. So how do you, I know a lot of these tests too are like not necessarily brought up by your doctor. And they're not. So how, and like, I don't know, as women, especially if you're young, you're going to your doctor, you feel intimidated. How do you kind of request this type of test maybe? Or how do you feel like armed with the information of like, look, something's going on with my body?
Yeah, I think, you can take the data that you can collect. So if you're testing your cycle and it's irregular, you can go to your doctor armed with that information and say, I've been cycle tracking, it's irregular, I'm not getting my period the same amount of time every single month, or I'm having all of these symptoms. Can I get blood work and an ultrasound? And if your doctor is for some reason refusing to give you the testing or that kind of care, then I want everyone to feel empowered that they need to go and find another doctor. Yeah. A lot of fertility clinics these days as well will take patients in from self-referral, and they will do a fertility workup. Like, you don't need to be trying for a year. You can go and request that care.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. No, that's good to know. I feel like not information I like would casually know either. I feel intimidated at the doctor personally. And I'm 30. Like, I don't know. I feel scared. Okay.
So you mentioned one product, and I know Bird&Be has a lot of products from like prenatal to, you know, during pregnancy and postpartum. So tell us a little bit about, you know, all the different products you have.
Yeah, so we make at-home tests that basically help to get you to the doctor earlier. So I mentioned ovulation testing. Mm-hmm. We have pregnancy tests, very clear, pregnant or not pregnant. And then we have two really interesting other red flaggy tests. So we've got, actually, it's right here, ovarian reserve screening test. And so this is, same thing, dipstick in urine. And this will give you a red flag if a hormone called FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, is high. If that hormone is high, that could be an indicator that your ovarian reserve is low. So that would mean egg quantity could be low. And what that doesn't tell you is if you're fertile or not, because if you're getting a cycle every month, you can still get pregnant. What it is an indicator of is you might want to check out your timeline. Because if your FSH continues to climb, that means you're getting close to menopause. And that can happen quite early for some people, and there wouldn't necessarily be any great warning signs if you have an issue with ovarian reserve. And so we want you to see a doctor early so you can make a plan. They'll do a full workup, they'll test you, and they'll say, you know, you're 30 years old, your FSH is through the roof, and you want 3 kids. It might be time to freeze eggs or embryos, because we don't know how fast it's going to rise or how quickly your ovarian reserve is going to deplete.
That's fascinating, because that's the kind of science that, like, I froze my eggs earlier this year, and you know, I went to the doctor every single day, and before that I had no idea how that worked. So like, I would have loved to have this and like done it myself. How did you kind of develop these type of tests, you know, backed by science? I know you don't have a science background, but you work with an army of great doctors and scientists, but tell us about the process of kind of setting that up.
Oh my God. It was a process.
Yeah.
So our team of doctors works on product development with everything. So we have our chief medical advisor and our fertility doctors who primarily focus on our medical devices, although they do some work on our studies as well as our supplements. And then our naturopathic doctors focus mostly on supplement formulation. And so our REI actually, honestly, was probably the main driver of this product by setting kind of the limits of what he wanted to see as the result. So giving the limit, like all of the research points to an FSH over 10 is something you want to go and get checked out. All the supporting research around that. And then we went through a roller coaster of a journey to get this manufactured. This was the idea that started the company, and this was the last test to actually come to market because the process it almost annihilated me, honestly. We started trying to get this made in the middle of COVID. No one in the world wanted to make rapid tests that weren't COVID tests during COVID. So that was a wrench in our plans. We ended up working with an R&D lab, I believe out in California, and it took forever to get the test to become as sensitive as we wanted it. And I learned a lot through the process about like things that I never thought. My brain expanded a bazillion times. And then we ended up moving to a different lab to actually get it produced. And then there's a whole licensing process that goes along with it. And it was one of those projects that felt like eating an elephant. Like, how could you possibly create a new at-home test? Like, how do you even do something like that? It was very intimidating in theory, but it was literally like a one step at a time, like one painstaking step at a time process to get it to market.
Wow, that's incredible. And did you start with tests out your first product? Because I know you also have supplements, you have lots of other. Okay.
It was supposed to be tests,
okay,
but COVID. So we actually started with supplements. And so we make preconception fertility supplements as well as pregnancy, postpartum, and beyond. And then we have kind of other specific supplements for specific things like PCOS. And so those were developed in conjunction with our naturopaths and medical doctors. And then we obviously had to bring in a ton of other people to the table because what the doctors want to see in the supplements translated to what actually can go in the supplement are two different things. So you need to bring in product developers. We started with pharmacy, product development, manufacturing, all kind of coming together with their ideas of how we could make this into something that was both palatable, because vitamins stink, so you have to be able to take them, and also in a format where we're again like no one's going to take 16 pills a day, so we got to condense it as much as possible into something that people will take, because the best vitamin, best prenatal is something that you're actually going to take.
And for women who are trying to conceive or pregnant, so like highly sensitive, right?
Very sensitive, yeah.
So many things that very sensitive, right? High risk as well. And I know, obviously, I feel like pregnancy supplements have been on the market and encouraged for forever, right?
Yes.
Are your supplements cleaner, better? How do they kind of compare to like the traditional kind of folic acid and prenatal that like our moms took? Yeah.
So our preconception fertility supplements are a little bit different than a traditional prenatal vitamin. They have prenatal vitamins as part of it. So your prenatal vitamin would be your micronutrients A through Z, the things that make sure that your body is ready to build a baby and that the baby is going to have all of the things it needs to grow and be healthy. And within those micronutrients are also other vitamins that can help to support fertility. Selenium's one of them. It's a super important piece of the fertility puzzle. But then on top of that, we layer in the additional things that you need to support egg quality and fertility. And then, of course, for males, we have products for male fertility, which is a whole other thing we can get into.
Yes.
So in addition to prenatal vitamins, there is DHA, which is an omega-3. It's anti-inflammatory, great for brain, baby brain, and mom brain. And then antioxidants. And this is the big difference. So we have a combination of antioxidants, which include the highest dose of CoQ10 that's on the market right now for prenatal vitamins category. And these are things that help to support the quality of your eggs.
Okay.
So this is cellular health. Your egg is the biggest cell in your body, sperm is the smallest. And so we want to focus on the health of those cells and to defend against the DNA damage that comes from oxidative stress in our everyday life, environment, the sun, the food we eat. And so as we get older, it becomes harder to defend against those things. We need additional antioxidants to help support the quality of our eggs so we can have a healthy pregnancy and healthy baby.
That's amazing. No, I mean, I feel like I'm learning so much about my body.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I also would love to talk about the male fertility part of your company. Obviously unique, and I feel like a very new introduction, honestly, into fertility and reproductive health, which is shocking. But tell us about what products you offer for men as well, and especially in kind of the preconception phase. I know like trimester 0, etc.
Yeah.
I'd love to learn about that.
Okay, so the sperm test, I think, is the coolest device that I've ever seen. This is something you can do at home.
Okay.
So you can test your sperm at home. You will get a video of your moving sperm sent to your phone in 15 minutes.
Wow.
So you get to watch your sperm swim around or your partner's sperm swim around. And you can see immediately if there is a problem with the quality of the sperm. So it tests 5 parameters. It gives you the numericals, it gives you a quality rating. And if that is low, if you have low motility, low concentration, right to the doctor. We're not like, don't pass go. Right to the doctor, and you can start the male fertility supplement. And so that's the second piece of the puzzle. We want you taking, again, immediately high quality antioxidant routine, which is what's in our male fertility power packs. We studied these twice now and have published 2 studies on these. And you can see an improvement when you actually use the sperm test in conjunction with the vitamins.
Wow.
And so in 30 days, you can actually see a significant improvement in the progressive motility of the sperm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's actually
And then the results continue and sustain.
wow.
And so if you are trying to get pregnant, you want to make sure that you're sustaining those results because you're not getting great chances every month if you have low sperm quality. But again, that's not to be replaced by a doctor's visit. You must go and see a doctor. You must get a full workup and make sure that you're doing everything you can to support your fertility.
Yeah, no. And that's amazing. Super interesting. I love that you're obviously kind of pioneering this space. Besides obviously the vitamins in your test, what Bird&Be provides, what are like lifestyle choices as well that you like recommend to support this process for both men and women?
It's so important. You know, supplements are a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
But certainly we need to be thinking about everything we're doing from a lifestyle perspective to support our fertility. And fertility health is just your 5th vital sign, right?
Yeah.
Your menstrual cycle, your sperm quality, that is a signal for the rest of your body. So all of the things that you're doing from a health care perspective should be supportive of your overall health, your inflammation, immunity, longevity. So we're moving every single day and we are lifting heavy weights. Women lift heavy weights.
Okay.
Heavy weights, especially if you have PCOS.
Okay.
But for everybody, heavy weights. And by heavy weights, that should mean you can't lift the weight after like 7 or 8 reps.
Okay.
Heavy weights. We need to build muscle.
Okay.
Very important. We need to be sleeping.
Yeah.
We have to sleep. Like 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. It's a non-negotiable. It's an absolute critical piece. Sleep is when our hormones are developing. Sleep is when our body is repairing. Sleep is when we can control the inflammation in our body. We don't get to be healthy, well people unless we're sleeping. Super, super important. And you need to be eating a whole foods diet. That the best studied diet is Mediterranean diet. And so eat things that are whole and from the earth and try for less processed, simple sugars, simple carbs. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't smoke also,
Yeah.
in case anybody hadn't got the memo.
Yeah.
No smoking, limit drinking.
And drink a lot of water.
A lot of water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just learned so much in the last, 20 minutes that we spoke. How do you kind of approach education with your product? And how has that kind of changed over the years since you've launched to now?
So education, I believe, is our core product. We started with education before we had anything physical to offer our customers. We started on Instagram and TikTok offering people, our doctors, literally answering their questions. We got them on, TikTok Live, Instagram Live, and just said, ask me anything. And people are hungry for that information. We put out tons and tons and tons of deeply researched blog content. We have incredible newsletters with so much information that's very stage specific. We do in real life events sometimes where we're educating people one-on-one. And now more recently, we have this amazing partnership with Ulta.
Yes. Great transition. Wanted to ask you about that.
Yes.
We'll dive into that.
So Ulta has given us the opportunity to educate associates at the stores.
Wow.
Who can then educate their communities and customers about basic fertility health 101.
Which is incredible.
It's incredible. Like, what an amazing additional touch point when somebody's coming into the store for, their outer self. Why not take the opportunity to talk about their reproductive health and their overall health and well-being while they're already there shopping to look and feel their best?
For sure. And I feel like it's such a core tenet of your mission of really just democratizing and like making reproductive fertility health accessible, right? You don't have to feel like you have to go to a fertility doctor. You don't have to feel like you have to be wanting kids or the right age. It's like, this is just knowledge to empower yourself. And Ulta's like really supporting that, which is amazing. And I know you have an awesome partnership as well with Hot Smart Rich and Maggie Sellers. Maybe tell us a little bit about your fundraising journey and how you got there and your growth.
Yeah, well, Maggie's amazing, and she has an incredible community of women and angels who, again, are also just at the perfect moment in their lives where they're kind of coming up in their careers and they have this opportunity to take ownership of their reproductive future, really. And the best thing we can do is offer this education as early as possible so, folks can take their future in their hands and make decisions, just as you said that you did.
Yeah, absolutely. And at a low cost and an accessible cost, right? That's also in literally Ulta, or not necessarily, you need to have fertility benefits or coverages, which is difficult too. What would you say to someone who's like maybe in their early 20s that is not really thinking about kids, right? They're not thinking about kids, they're single, whatever. Maybe not even sure if they want kids. How is Bird&Be still meeting them kind of where they are and supporting them in their health?
Well, I'd say number one is track that cycle.
Yeah.
Figure out how ovulation tests work and use them, because that's your first signal that something's not right.
Yeah.
And if you can, from an early age, I would start the pattern of being a healthy, well person. So I love the fact that drinking culture is not the same, perhaps, as it was when I was growing up. I love the fact that there's all these incredible brands that are making non-alcoholic options cool and fun. I love the fact that being well is cool, and going to the gym and like all these options is awesome, and that we're all talking about lifting heavy weights now. But if you start that pattern at an early age and you truly make it a pattern, you are going to be a healthier person when it comes time to actually start thinking about like getting ready to prepare your body to conceive.
Yeah. I love that.
I'd love to talk a little bit about you as an entrepreneur. I know you've grown Bird&Be to be this successful business. What were some of the challenges that you faced, whether it was through fundraising or just growth in general, as a female entrepreneur?
Oh my gosh, the challenges, they're still coming every day.
Yeah.
I don't think that part ever ends, because like I joked the other day, we got a shipment of boxes that was, not the right color. It was because our manufacturer had used a different printer. And I was like, this is never not going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Like every day we are going to face continued challenges at various levels of how challenging they actually are. I would say that early days, like really, really early days, when the first iteration of Bird&Be and the first formation of our team kind of went out there and tried to raise money, we got resounding no's across the board. Like it was no, everybody was like, what are you doing? What is this? And I remember there was one investor at the very beginning who was like, I don't even understand your team. Like there was a bunch of us in the early days, like who are all of you? And like, why are you, I don't understand. And it was so embarrassing. I was just so embarrassed all the time going to these meetings and just leaving like, am I a fool?
Yeah.
And fast forward, COVID hit, and the kind of original group of people who were involved in the business kind of said, like, I'm out. I got to do my other thing. I got to have security for my family. Like, we're out. But if you want to keep doing this, like, that's great. And so a couple months into COVID, I get a call from that early investor who said, what the hell is happening here? And she said, I can't stop thinking about you and this idea. And like, I really want to help you make it happen. And so she worked with me to kind of help rebuild a team and help understand how to pitch investors a little bit differently, like in a different language almost. Yeah. Here's what everything means when they're using all these algorithms, I'll restate that.
Formulas, maybe.
Here's what they mean when they're saying all these letters that don't make sense. And so I met my now co-founder through this process, and we kind of reiterated the entire business and went in a bit of a different direction, put together the pitch in a different way, and then immediately went back out to market and got yeses.
Wow.
And so the original kind of set of no's, like it was redirection, right?
Yeah.
The rejection is redirection.
Yeah. And then you met your co-founder through the fundraising process or through this investor that was helping?
I met my co-founder actually through our chief medical advisor, who's also my husband.
Okay.
And she was super involved in the fertility space and had been going through her own terrible fertility journey and really also wanted to fix the process. And she was pitching him ideas. He's an entrepreneurial guy and does a bunch of things. And he's like, well, you got to speak to Sam because we're building something over here in the space. And so that's how we met. And we met during COVID, and she was going through IVF. So we didn't actually see each other in person for like the first 6 months of working together. Because we couldn't be in the same space.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I know how meeting a co-founder, making sure it's right and building it is difficult. So how did you know she was the right person? How is that relationship? And how have you guys kind of continued to build the company together?
Yeah. I mean, the very early days, obviously you could tell when somebody's so passionate about something. And so that's very important. Like, you're about to go on a journey, although I think I was naive about what the journey was actually going to be. But you're about to go on a journey, and you need somebody who like lives and breathes this passion for creating what you're going to create. She's also a super technical person.
Okay.
I'm not a technical person. And so that was an amazing thing to have those early days. Like, you want to work with people and find people who are very different from you. You don't want the same skill set for everybody across the board. Over time, so the day after we actually launched in beta, she found out she was pregnant, which was amazing.
Yeah.
And then our third co-founder came on to support her maternity leave. And then she was so awesome that she stayed on. And so over time, we've grown and developed together. And one of the things that's been so helpful and that I recommend to everybody is finding either like a business coach or communication coach who can support you along the way. And so like a co-founder relationship is like a marriage, right? And you have to continue to work on it. And I've gotten such value from our coach about learning how to have difficult conversations in a really productive way. And so we all meet with him on a continuous basis to continue to work on how to have great conversations.
That's incredible advice. I actually haven't heard someone using a business coach for like fostering their co-founder relationship, which is a lot like a marriage and often can fall apart, honestly, and like have lots of issues.
It's the number one reason why people why businesses fail is the co-founder relationship actually crumbles.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's incredible
piece of advice. And you mentioned you're a mom of 3.
I am.
So how has that been, being a mom, but also having this company that you're running?
Oh, well, life is crazy. I mean, it's just nuts what happens in a day. I keep saying I try to film these like day in the life of, but then I forget to film because I'm too busy.
Because life is happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's wild. It's wild, but I am grateful. Firstly, I'm grateful for the iPhone. I'd like to say thank you to Apple products.
Yeah, for sure, right?
Because I do a lot of work while I'm in life, living life, right? My kids are all in whatever variety of activities that they do. And so I'll drop them off at hockey, and then I've got like 30 minutes before one of them will go on the ice. And so I'm sitting on my phone doing work for 30 minutes, and it adds up. Like it adds up through the day, these chunks of work that you can get done in between things. And there's really no other option. There is no other option. This is just how you function.
Yeah, for sure. I think like also life too, just it doesn't feel possible until you do it. Things sound so hard. I mean, they are really hard, but then you're just in it and you're like, well, today,
Let's do it.
This is what's happening. We're just adjusting today.
It just is. Like, I think that there is certainly a specific type of person who chooses to work for themselves and have a bunch of kids and take on whatever other commitments. I'm that person. But I think everybody, or what I've come to realize is that everybody has a full plate. Everybody's plates are made from different things and they're different sizes, but there's nobody whose plate isn't full.
Yeah, it's true. And how do you, I mean, you are a female founder, mom of 3, your co-founder is also a mother of a young child. How is that like part of your just culture of your company? Like, how do you support moms? Is that like, do you think that's sort of a mission of yours as a founder, an entrepreneur?
It is. So we always have somebody that's pregnant or on maternity leave.
That's amazing. Honestly, great theme. Great theme. I'm not clearly we've got like some healthy reproductive women, which is amazing. Yeah. Awesome.
People like to say there's something in the water. Oh wait, like it's the vitamins that we're
exactly.
So everybody's entitled to take however long of a maternity leave they feel is necessary. In Canada, there is officially a much longer maternity leave than here in the United States, but it doesn't really matter to us. So everybody can take however long they feel is appropriate for their family.
It's incredible.
Everybody is operating on a flexible schedule. So we're entirely remote, and we acknowledge that everybody's got stuff happening in their lives. And so as long as the goals are met, like as long as we have our KPIs that are very clear, and as long as, you know, the most important meetings that you need to be at are attended, like if your kid is sick and you have to take them to the doctor, you have to do school pickup. I have school pickup on my calendar every single day. I leave for 30 minutes in the middle of the afternoon every day to pick up my kids from school. And that's just how it is, because we're fitting work and life together. It's a blend.
Yeah, and that's the culture you're building and offering to your employees, and it really also shows with the product too. And I know you had a really big year in 2025, you know, investments, Ulta. What are you most excited for this year coming up?
So many things. There will be some new products.
Ooh.
Cool.
Very excited. We are looking at offering some additional support services as well. So we're hoping to be able to roll out some early testing in the next quarter, where we're actually going to be able to offer some one-on-one support for our community, which is going to be very exciting. We are looking at some retail expansion as well. So we'll be in probably by early April now 1,000 Ulta locations.
Wow, that's incredible.
So that is growing. We are looking at rolling out in even more fertility clinics. So we're already in quite a number of fertility clinics across the US and Canada, and we're looking to double that number this year. So it's going to be a big year of growth. And we also have some really interesting campaign ideas and doing some very fun things on the marketing side and a lot more in real life. We're going to come and see people in real life.
That's awesome. I love that. And I didn't realize you had the like B2B strategy of also infertility clinics. And what a like, I don't know, badge of just legitimacy, and like all the fertility doctors are obviously supporting it. And
the fertility doctors are all taking
it literally and prescribing it to their patients. It's incredible.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I don't know, what's your just general dream for Bird&Be? Where do you see it in 10 years? What would you love for it to happen?
I would love for anybody who's thinking about fertility to think of Bird&Be. I wish for our brand that we are in the hands of everybody at a very, very early stage. And my big kind of pie in the sky dream is to bring fertility education to younger folks. Like, I'm talking university aged females and males. And I want to be able to deliver that reproductive health 2.0 that hopefully they'll actually remember because nobody remembers that class in grade 10.
Yeah.
No, literally. I mean, just in general, the information and development too of women's and sexual health has progressed a lot in the past 5 to 10 years, 2 years, honestly.
Yeah.
So, it would be incredible. Well, this has been amazing.
Thank
I've
you.
absolutely loved having you on, Samantha. You are so inspiring. We always end on this question. We have lots of young listeners, potentially looking, to maybe start their own company. What advice would you give a young person looking to start their own company?
Okay, I have 2 pieces of advice, if that's allowed.
Yes.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so we talk a lot about resilience.
Yeah.
And resilience being kind of the core of what we need to be able to build. And resilience is really, or my understanding of resilience is really how long you can sit in discomfort. Like how long you're able to remain uncomfortable is how resilient you are. But you need to train to sit in that discomfort. And I would say the first part of that training is physical. So you need to be a healthy, well person, and you need to be physically able to then be resilient. So resilience is how long, or my understanding of it is how long you can sit in that discomfort and like not ring the bell, basically. How long can you sustain? In order to be resilient and sit in that discomfort, I believe it starts with the physical. So you need to be physically well and physically healthy in order to be able to support your mental health, mental clarity, creativity, be able to reduce that stress, because you're going to be in a stressful situation for a long period of time, be able to handle stress. And so that starts with movement every single day. You're trying to get those 10,000 steps every single day. You are exercising, like truly exercising for at least 30 minutes, 4 to 5 times a week. You're lifting weights. You are doing these things so that you can build muscle to support that body that's going to carry you through these really stressful times. And all the things we talked about before, you are eating your whole foods diet. You are making sure you're not going nuts with sugar. You're not doing too much drinking and smoking, no smoking. And you're sleeping, because if you don't sleep, you literally cannot handle any stress at all. So number 1, we're making sure we're physically able to then go on to build the resilience. And then number 2, I like to say, be dressed to be ready. So what that means from a micro perspective is, like, if I wake up in the morning and I put on my workout clothes, at some point during the day, I am going to be able to exercise because I'm going to find my moment, but I'm already going to be in the clothes that allow me to like go to the gym, right? Or I work from home, so I'll have a break in between a meeting or something, and I'll know, like, oh, here's my moment. I'm ready for exercise, because that was my goal at the beginning of the day, is I want to exercise. And so you're ready for that moment. So in real life, how that translates is you be dressed ready for that moment. So you are prepared, you are ready, you've done your research, you've done the homework, you are ready to go. So when that tap comes on your shoulder, you are ready to raise your hand, like you are dressed ready.
Wow.
I love that.
Both those pieces of advice are amazing, and I love. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Samantha. This was incredible. Where can we find Bird&Be?
You can find Bird&Be online, www.birdandbe.com, 1E. You can find us at Ulta.
Amazing.
Across the U.S., ulta.com as well. You can find us in your local fertility clinic if you happen to be there. And you can find us in Canada. If you're listening from Canada, we're also on well.ca, Natura Market. There's a ton of stores and chains that also have the products in there as well. But look for us on birdandbe.com.
Incredible. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Everyone, thank you so much for listening. As always, we're at Womansplain Pod on all socials. And please email us at hello@womansplainpod.com of any questions. And thank you so much. And thank you, Sam.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.